Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at the top 10 cards from GG The End. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. GG The End is out in Japan. It's seeing a little bit of play. We've had a big tournament with it, so I thought, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? We should go ahead and have a little bit of a chat about the 10 best cards. But there's actually a whole bunch of honourable mentions here, so we're going to run through the honourable mentions, and we're going to do so quite quickly. We've got Stunfisk that does 60 damage to a Pokemon if they've got more HP remaining than it, and it is a lightning type that attacks for a fire energy. Generally, it's just a really good Zapdos counter for a single energy, especially if you're playing a fighting deck. There we go. We've also got Kangaskhan coming. Kangaskhan does 50 damage for each Pokemon tag team you've actually got in play. It's for 4 energy, which is expensive, but you know people are going to make big smashy decks with this. We are getting a Munchlax. Now it's a baby Pokemon, and it's got one of those abilities. You flip a coin, and regardless of what happens, your turn ends. But if you flip a heads, you put any card from your discard pile on top of your deck. This is going to be really good in stalling decks where you want to be recovering cards like your Max Potion and your Ace Roller. We are also going ahead and getting ourselves Hooper. Now, Hooper's got an attack for a single energy, which does 10 damage plus 20 for each Pokemon your opponent has in play with an ability. That's kind of cool. It's not going to KO a huge amount, but there are going to be plenty of games where you can get a cheeky KO or two using this, and that's pretty good. We are getting ourselves a Drifblim, which just lets you switch a tag team, but it's actually really good, especially for Raichu and Alolan Raichu. They're on the card. We'll talk about them more on that later, but a switch every turn is pretty tasty. And I kind of wanted to put it on the list, but it fell a tiny bit short. Metatite. I know, right? Metatite. 40 damage for a single energy is kind of weak, but then you add Diancie Prism Star, which does an extra 20, and Fighting Dojo, which does an extra 10, or an extra 40 if you're behind on prizes, plus you've then got Choice Band and you're hitting weakness on Pikarom. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, you can use this to get a one-hit KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom for a single energy on a 60 HP basic. That's at least worth mentioning. But not quite good enough for the list. So in at number 10, we've got HAXORUS. And it is a stage 2, and that does put me off, but it's the only thing that puts me off. The ability, Grinder Up, I should say all our translations in this video come from the lovely David Hockman over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. And it says, once during your turn you may discard a stadium from play and attach free fire or metal energy from your hand to this Pokemon. Well, we've got Fiery Flint, which is going to allow you to search for that energy from your deck, or Fire Crystal, which gets it from your discard, plus we got Mount Coronet, which gets your metal energy from your discard, and yeah, we're not going to struggle to get the energy here, not to mention Giant Furnace, which will be coming up slightly later on in the video. There is a lot of ways to get your fire and metal energy in your hand. The attack for a minimum fire and metal does 40 damage for each energy attached to it, plus 10 base. This adds up really quickly, especially if you're using stuff like Fire Crystal to get free energy in your hand, plus a Mount Coronet. That's going to add up quickly. If you use the ability and attach for the turn, you're doing 170. That's a lot. I love this. In at number 9, the most interesting Pokemon in the set, it's Chandelure. I adore Chandelure. It's got one attack, but for 1 fire energy you do 10 damage, and then discard the top 5 cards of your deck, doing an extra 60 damage for each Pokemon you discarded this way. But the great thing about this is that every fire Pokemon you discarded goes directly onto your bench, which means that you can do stuff like get a Delphox and an Infernape, so that your opponent gets poisoned every turn, and takes 6 damage counters for the poison between turns. This is crazy good, and is going to have an awful lot of fun, because of course you can just use Mallow. Put 2 fire Pokemon stage 2s on top of your deck, do 130 for a single energy while getting them out, and of course we've got Infernape coming where all your Pokemon do an extra 30 damage. This is great, ladies and gentlemen. Did I say Infernape? I meant Incineroar. Either way, it's Redonk. And it is going to be a good deck because people are going to go a little bit nuts with this. And it's going to be fun. In at number 8, we've got Tag Switch. Very simply, you switch 2 energy from one of your tag team Pokemon to another Pokemon. It's like a hyper-powered version of Energy Switch. It's not always going to be the best card ever. But remember, Tag Team GXs need extra energy to get the full effect of their GX attack, and those energies are then sat on the Pokemon doing nothing for the remainder of the game. If only there was a good way to get the energy off. In at number 7, we've got that card I mentioned earlier. It's Giant Furnace. Giant Furnace is another great card for getting fire energy out. It's Viridian Forest, but better. You still discard a card from your hand, but instead of searching for any one basic energy, you search for 2 basic fire energy. This, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely great in any deck that needs fire energy. And don't forget, by the time this comes out, we're going to have Welder, attach 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon and draw 3 cards. Yeah. So you use Giant Furnace, and then you've got 2 energy, so then you can use Welder to attach them and then draw 3 cards. Fire decks are good right now. But we're also getting Black Belt, and Black Belt is pretty gosh darn good for fighting decks. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, that is to say you're losing the game, the Pokemon it is attached to, any Pokemon, pays 1 fighting energy less to attack, so the new Stunfisk could use this to attack for free. Or any Pokemon using fighting energy. It is a ridiculously good card for any deck playing fighting energy. It's easily searched out with stuff like Green Search, and it is a huge advantage for any fighting deck. Yeah, that's worthy of being in at number 6. In at number 5, Garchomp and Giratina. This follows on from our all tag team GXs are good. There's 2 in the set. Yes, the other one is in this list as well. Garchomp and Giratina, it's only really got 1 good attack, but it's a very good attack. Psychic, Fighting, Colorless, 240 if there's any damage on the active Pokemon. So use stuff like Giratina. It's both good and thematically appropriate. Or spread a bit of damage with a Tapu Koko in the early game. There's a million different ways to get the damage on there. The key point is you can get the damage on there. And then you're doing 240. Yes, you can use Black Belt. Yes, you can use Malamar. Is it going to end up being better in Malamar decks than Ultra Necrozma? It is a tag team GX, but it's also more efficient in terms of energy use. So there is a genuine chance that it will be. I don't love the other 2 attacks, but I do love this attack. This is an incredibly good attack, which does an awful lot of good and will KO the vast majority of Pokemon out there. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great card. In at number 4, we've got Zygarde. And Zygarde's kind of fun. And here's the thing, we've already seen 2 winning decks with this. It was in the Garchomp deck that won a tournament. We'll get to that in a minute. And that's just on its own. That's just for the attack. 1 fighting energy, 20 damage. Attach a fighting energy from your discard to one of your benched Pokemon. That's good. It's good energy acceleration while doing a bit of damage. But it's also got an ability which says all of your Zygarde and Zygarde GX do an extra 20 damage if this is on your bench. So what you do, and this has also been winning tournaments in Japan, you get Zygarde GX in the active attacking, with 4 of these and a Diancie Prism Star on the bench, and all of a sudden your attacks are doing an extra 100 damage to the active. Yeah. This makes Zygarde GX amazing, while also being good at energy acceleration in any fighting deck. That makes it pretty gosh darn good. In at number 3, choo-choo, it's the other tag team GX. It's Raichu and Alolan Raichu, also seen success in Japan, will also be in the description, the link to that video. The best thing about this, 2 lightning and a colourless energy, and if you became active this turn, you do 160 plus paralysis. Cool. And the switching in and out the active every turn, firstly we got the Drifblim we mentioned earlier, but secondly we're already used to doing that for Zapdos. And it's a lightning Pokemon, so you get Electro Power to do extra damage. You can use a combination of Thunder Mountain Prism Star to reduce your attack cost by 1, and Tapu Koko to attach an extra energy, and all of a sudden this becomes a single energy attack, essentially. 160 plus automatic paralysis. With stuff like Electro Power, you're probably going to be getting a one-hit KO on most stuff anyway, but when you're not, you get automatic paralysis. It's awesome. Not a huge fan of the GX attack. 3 energy, 150, switch to the bench. 5 energy, 250, switch to the bench. It's not particularly good. But it doesn't need to be because the first attack's amazing. The only thing that stops this being one of the very best Pokemon in the entire format is it's a Lightning Tag Team GX, and there is an argument that we could just play Pikarom instead. But when the only good argument against it being phenomenal is the best card in the format might be slightly better, I don't think we're looking at a huge problem here. I think this sounds absolutely fine by me. In at number 2, that Pokemon we mentioned earlier. It's Garchomp. Already seeing success, I'll link all these videos in the description. It is everything that a non-GX should be. It wins a prize trade. The free retreat is nice, but the ability says if you're behind on prizes, you do an extra 80 damage. And the attack does 80 damage, but if you discard an energy, it does 120. So if you're behind on prizes, you attach 2 energy, discard 1 of them, and do 200 damage. But it gets better. Because if you're behind on prizes, Black Belt means that you do this for a single energy. And if you're behind on prizes, then Fighting Dojo means you do an extra 40 damage. So now you're actually doing 240 for a single energy. But actually we got Diancie Prism Star, so now you're doing 260 damage for a single energy. That's ridiculous. Utterly, ludicrously, brokenly ridiculous. But you've got to be behind on prizes. Yeah, don't worry about it. Because we're getting Miss Magius. And Miss Magius lets you knock it out on the bench. Oh, look, you're giving up a prize. And then draw 2, you got 7 cards in your hand. So firstly, you're drawing cards to mean that you're going to hopefully have what you need in order to get the combo going. And secondly, you're going to be behind on prizes. And 260 damage for a single energy. Yeah. That's redonk, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely redonk. So there's going to need to be something really good in at number 1. If Garchomp isn't number 1. And there is. It's Reset Stamp. Reset Stamp is a one-sided end for your opponent. Your opponent shuffles a hand into their deck and draws a number of cards equal to the prize cards they have remaining. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy good. This is crazy good. This is going to change the way we play the game. This is going to be absolutely over the top, brokenly good. The deck that won in Japan this past weekend played 2 copies of this, and I expect most of the winning decks going forward to play a couple copies of this. It's a comeback card. And I said it when I looked at this card first of all, and I'll say it again now. When N was legal, I got ends to 1 or 2 and lost the game against good players way more than against average players. When this card was revealed, you saw a lot of very top level players being very happy this card was coming back. This is not a, oh, my opponent top decked it and then won. No. This is a card where you thin your deck out so you're more likely to draw it. Where you save it till the end rather than using it nice and early, etc, etc, etc. It is, quite frankly, the best and most impactful card in the set, and it will change the way we play the game, quite frankly. So there we go. Those are the top 10 cards from GG The End. A very good set. It's going to be coming out in Unified Minds over here, and I'll tell you what, that is already shaping up to be a very good set. But I would very much like to know what you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And also, give me your own top 10. Yay! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.